Hello and welcome to another video here at Hobbies and Happiness. My name's Dan.
And I'm Jim, and today we're talking about 5 games that got us into tabletop gaming.
All right, so here we go. We've got kind of our first top 5-ish kind of list here, maybe a little bit-ish.
Kinda.
All right, so we are gonna kind of go over real quick 5 games that got us into tabletop gaming. We dove into this topic a little bit more in depth in episode, I want to say it was episode number 4 maybe of our podcast, the Hobbies and Happiness podcast. We'll link that right here. So if you want to go check it out, it is an audio only podcast. We do have it here on YouTube, but we wanted to really touch on this.
I was gonna say, was that our favorites or was that the ones that got us into board gaming?
We called it our favorites.
Yeah.
We each picked 5 favorites.
Yeah.
But we kind of went into some of these stories on that episode. But we're gonna touch on all of those here. So the first game we're gonna talk about is Magic the Gathering.
Yes.
So we both met over the game of Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering honestly has been hugely instrumental for both of us in the tabletop space.
It was really the catalyst for me.
It really kind of was for me too. The Magic the Gathering for me was the game that really got me to dive deep into this hobby. Honestly, without Magic, we would not have met.
Yeah.
Because of Magic, it was because of Magic that I went to Grapple Games, our local game store, which is where Jim worked at the time, and was kind of really which got our relationship kind of off the ground, basically. I remember one of our first real kind of interactions was we played Modern.
Was it Modern?
Yes, I think. I mean, we did. I remember playing it, but that was really one of the first times that we really kind of, talked at length, I think.
Okay.
I was playing blue-white control. Was I playing Esper? I was blue-white. I was playing blue-white.
I was thinking like our first real one that I remember was our commander pod of like 6 people.
That was that.
Where you were playing Gargos.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I can't remember which was first. Wasn't that the same night?
It could have been.
That was the same night. I think that was the same night. But we could go on and on, honestly, talking about Magic. But honestly, without Magic the Gathering,
that's when Dan learned, don't mess with me on the stack.
He's not wrong. We had this great interaction. We had a huge interaction. I thought I had him.
Yeah.
I thought I had him because of Gargos' ability.
So
but then he went expansion, explosion. I'm like, no!
Copy. I still get it.
And he still got it. I'm like, no! That was the turn that took me out of the game.
Yeah.
So without Magic the Gathering, there is no Hobbies and Happiness. There's not a lot of things without Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
So I know we don't do a lot of content focused around Magic the Gathering. We kind of want to change that up in the future a little bit. But without Magic the Gathering, we do not have any of this. And I know Jim's going to get into a little bit there. So what's the next one, Jim, for you?
Yeah, for me, so after Magic, I got a lot of friends from Magic, and they are the ones that actually got me into more board games.
Yeah, sure.
So my one friend, I don't know if I should say any names, we'll call him Bobby. Not that Bobby.
Not that Bobby.
We'll call him Bobby. We were playing Magic for a bit, and then he got into Catan. So Catan is the board game that kind of started me down the trail. He got into it, got nearly every single expansion. We were taking up we took 2 tables at the store to build our giant map. Right?
That's crazy.
I used to play RTS games on the computer. He's a big RTS fan as well.
One of the best kinds of games.
Yeah, so just like building the giant map wasn't really a problem for us. It wasn't really intimidating, but like just growing from the normal base game of Catan into the giant board game into it's really what set me off down the path.
Yeah, Catan is one of those gateway games for a lot of people within this hobby, within tabletop gaming, that really, like he said, sets you on that path. Catan was one of the first games that I played around the same time period. So basically all of my games are really going to be right around that same time period, like within that same year. I remember going over to my wife's parents' house and playing Catan with, I think, her sister and some cousins. And I remember playing it. I'm like, Yeah, I know about this game because I remember in college there were a bunch of nerds that played it, and in college I wasn't more of a nerd-ish. I mean, I was, but
Yeah.
I would not have said I was, but I was.
Closeted.
Yeah,
Heavily
right,
closeted.
right. And I remember people playing that game, but I never really did. But now, again, I remember that thought going through my head at the time, and it was just funny. But Catan is an amazing game.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so the next game that I want to talk about is Disney Villainous. So you've seen a lot of videos here on the channel that we've played Disney Villainous, but I remember, again, for me, all around the same time period for me, but I remember going to the store with one of my wife's cousins, and we all wanted to have a game night together. And so we saw that game on the shelf, and I'm like, Disney Villainous. We're huge Disney fans, right? And so already right up our alley, I pull the box off the shelf and look. I'm like, Disney Villainous. I see card game. I'm like, okay, color me interested, intrigued. Huge card gamer, right? So I'm looking at it and I'm like, dude, we got to get this, man. This looks, honestly, our whole goal was to find a game to play for game night. Yep. So we took it home. I had a blast right away. I immediately fell in love with it. Have some issues now, a little bit, but it is a fun game. So check out our videos that we do gameplays through. But Jim, before really I introduced it to you, you never really played that game, did you?
I would see it on the shelf. I always knew where it was when I worked at Grapple. Like, I'd see so many people interested in it. My mom also walked by. She was like, "What is this?" I'm like, I don't know. I just know.
I don't know,
it's
Mom.
a thing.
I don't know. I just work here, okay?
and yeah, so it was like I knew it seemed really cool as well.
Yeah.
Like, when do you ever really get to play as the villains?
Yes.
And really any games?
And that's my favorite thing about the game is it really makes you feel like you are the villain that you're
trying
playing.
to go through their story to win.
Yeah,
it's
they
really
all make
cool.
Sense. It is it's very thematic and so much fun. I mean, if you're a Disney fan, I think if you're a Disney fan, you have to play it because really, I think those types of players and those types of people are probably going to get the most out of the game. That's not to say there's not something there for other people. If you're a big strategy game player or a card game player, play it. You're going to enjoy it too. So watch our videos, watch our gameplay videos, and the biggest piece of advice I can give you, read the villain guide. Read the villain guide because that is definitely essential in learning how to play each and every one of the villains. So with that, Jim, what is your next one?
Oh man. All right. So I was really thinking about which other games got me into it, and it's more built off of the people I became friends with from Magic and working at Grapple and going there quite a lot. One of the other workers there, we'll call him Bobby.
Bobby 2 or Bobby 3.
Bobby 3, whichever one. And he had a game, Betrayal, A House on the Hill. And
one that I've seen on the shelf plenty of times.
Yes, I've played that game a lot. And so, yeah, learning Betrayal, A House on the Hill from him, and building the house that you're going through. It's a little bit horror setup, and
it's very narrative driven, correct?
Yeah, it's very narrative driven, and the way you end the game is like there's 64 different possibilities to end the game,
which is crazy. Like from a board game perspective, that's pretty crazy.
It's huge.
To me. Yeah.
It's a little bit like Clue in terms of like, oh, this weapon was in this room, and that's what sets off the end of the game. Yeah. Once you find out what the specific thing is, that will trigger the end of the game. And with that, the game ranges can vary. The house could take flight, just going through the sky, everything that was in the basement completely separated now. And if there's like 5 people, you could have like 2 parachutes in the entire house, right? 5 people, you got to find those parachutes. And once someone does find it, they have to get to like an open doorway or a window, and they then have to jump out to safety.
Or somebody could steal it, right?
Or someone can steal it. Yeah, they killed them.
They killed them, to take the parachute. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So this is a game that I have yet to play. He has been talking about it, honestly, ever since we started doing this.
Michael and I have talked about it since episode 5 on the podcast.
And I remember them talking about it. I'm like, Yeah, I have no clue what you guys
Yeah.
are talking about.
Yeah.
I think it's a game I need to play.
Yeah.
I got him I think for your birthday I got you the Baldur's Gate
Yes.
one.
Yeah,
So
which
the
is the
dungeons,
D&D.
It's a D&D themed
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing. There's like slight differences in it, aside from all the endings being completely different. Because now it's like someone turned into a wizard and summoned a dragon. Well, that's not in the original game. But then like everyone also gets abilities because in D&D you have abilities.
Yeah. So if you're into narrative-driven games, I definitely check out Betrayal. I mean, I remember seeing that game every time I go into Target. It's always on the shelf
Yeah.
at Target, which is very interesting.
It's a popular one.
Yeah. So definitely check that out. I know it's a game I need to play.
There also have been other people we've had on the channel that have talked about Betrayal. Nearly every single one.
And they all talk about it with him.
I
and
think it was every single person.
Yeah, they've all mentioned, because anytime anyone's on the podcast,
Yeah.
we always ask them, what are some of the games that got you into the hobby or that you enjoy? And it seems that it's always been, everyone has mentioned Betrayal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I think I need to play this game, guys. So, F in chat. If
We get some
if
F
I
in
need to
chats.
play. So, all right. So the last game we want to talk about is definitely another one for both of us, is the DC deck building game.
Yes.
So again, another game that we've played a lot in the channel. One of my favorite games, honestly, because it is a game that really got me into this hobby as well. Big, huge Batman fan. I love Batman, and actually, my wife bought me Legendary for a gift. I think I bought DC deck building game. I can't remember, it's so long ago now, but I remember the first time I played it was actually with my wife, because at the time I'm like, I got nobody to play it with. Hey, honey, do you want to sit down and play this game with me? So she sat down and she loved it. She really enjoyed it. I was surprised, but I immediately loved it. Again, I'm a card game player. We are card game players. We love strategy card games. And so when I remember I was looking, actually I do remember now, I did buy it because I was looking and researching what types of games, like card games that are out there to buy. So I found DC deck building game. I'm like, I love Batman, love DC. Let's see what games are out there. And then I find this huge ecosystem of deck building games. I'm like, what is a deck building game? And so DC Deck Builder was the first deck building game that I played. Wasn't it the first one that you played as well?
Yeah, so it was actually around 10 years ago. I didn't put it in my list because it wasn't. I played it 10 years ago and then didn't play like really board games at all.
It didn't really have a huge impact for you.
Yeah. But yeah, I played it like 10 years ago. A group of friends of mine, we were really big into Card Fight Vanguard at the time.
Yeah.
And we sat down, played this game. I had no clue what it was.
Yeah.
And I just got completely destroyed. I had no clue what a deck builder really was.
Yeah, same. The first time I played it too, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos trying to find out what's out there. Oh yeah,
played it a lot.
Yeah. And since then, I've played the crap out of the core set. There's so many different expansions, and that's the thing about these deck builders is it's so cool with there being so many different expansions. It's so different from a TCG like Magic to where if you buy a box, you have all of the cards. And one of my favorite things about these deck building games is every game is different. Okay, it's very different from a TCG to where I have my deck, I know how my deck functions, and I'm going to play my deck a certain way. But these deck building games, your deck is going to be different from every game because it's all going to depend on how you build it. So the replayability is through the roof, and it's so much fun. Again, any deck building game we love. Like, we really do enjoy these deck building games. Definitely go check out DC Deck Building Game. Watch all of our gameplay videos. We've got a lot of content in mind for, honestly, a lot of deck building games because, again, card games, we love it. Deck builders are a lot of fun. So check out DC Deck Builder. Honorable mention, I'll just mention real quick, is Legendary is the Marvel version kind of a deck builder. So that's, if you're more into Marvel, they do have a Marvel version, just a different game system and that's called Legendary. So those were 5 of games that got us into the tabletop hobby. What are some of yours? Let us know down in the comments if you had to pick 1 or 2 games games that really got you to dive deep into this hobby, what would they be? Let us know. We'd really like to know in the comments. Or, hey, do you like DC Deck Builder? Have you played Betrayal, unlike me, and you really like it? Let us know. Yeah, so that's some of ours. I'm really excited for the future to honestly dive into more games, even more of these expansions, but there's a couple of games that I really cannot wait to dive into. I'm looking at one of them right now, sitting right off camera. I'm looking forward to getting into that game as well, and we'll keep you in suspense because we're going to be playing a lot of that game and getting a lot of gameplay videos in of that game, and I will tell you a little bit about that later. So with that, thanks everybody for being here, and we will catch you in the next video. See you, everybody.
Take care.